I actually work for Google, and I lead gaming partnerships for Google globally. And it's possibly one of the best jobs in the company. A lot more power. You can see that in the latest version of the Nexus phones that we have released recently. The Nexus 6 is an absolute beast, and it's going to run games incredibly well. I think the second one will probably be around wearables. Right? Very early days, but I'm very excited about what the possibilities that they bring to the table. Starting with obviously health bands, but also moving on to the smartwatches, VR sets, and I'm particularly excited our below $10 VR set called Google Cardboard. Significantly higher amounts of people who are developing for mobile platforms now. Some of those games, but some of those are not necessarily games. I'm very excited about the possibilities that all those new talents and kind of in terms of creativity, what they can bring to the table.
It's been a long journey for you. I was doing a small background research, and I came to know that you've been a gamer before. At the age of 12, your father gave you a computer.
Absolutely.
And it's been a wide perspective change when you started off as a gamer at a very young age, and now you totally on the the marketing and the product end.
Yeah.
So how come the perspective change?
So very good question, and going back to those days, I'm not sure how you got that information, by the way, but really good job. But going back to those days, what was called a computer then, what I had was a Sinclair 48K, which was very popular in Western Europe at the time. But it also required a magnetic tape, and the magnetic tape was the platform, right, where the games or the applications were loaded. And you would be looking at that thing making really weird noises for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a time just to load the game. So there was a significant amount of involvement in playing games in those days, as you can imagine. Sessions tended to be long just by looking at the loading times.
So what year are we talking about?
This is 1980. That would be early 80s to me, the 80s, something like that.
Okay.
And by the way, that computer is still somewhere in my mother's house, and it still works as far as I understand.
Still works?
Yeah, I don't have the patience these days to wait for games to load, right? Especially when you can run an emulator on a phone, and the experience is fantastic. But moving sort of a little bit to present time, I think I was lucky enough to spend a significant amount of time. Obviously, I had a bit of a personal interest to start with, and I was lucky enough to end up doing what certainly at the time was my dream job with EA, which also at the time was the largest games company in the world. So
yeah. So moving on to that, so you saw a transition, you moved from a gamer to being on the product end of things, and then you joined EA, and do you have spent a considerable amount of your career time with EA.
Yeah.
And you were there when EA.com was released. So tell us something more about that.
So yeah, it was a great ride actually. I was with the company for close to 10 years. I left at the end of 2009, and I was, as I say, very lucky to be working on a lot of really interesting things. So on the one hand, the roles that I have with the company went all the way from online promotion and marketing to product management and product marketing, till the last role I had with the company as kind of leading the efforts in Southeast Asia for the new free-to-play online games on desktop. And all of that was very exciting. At the same time, one of the roles that I did for a while was leading the APAC team for EA Partners, which meant I could not only work with the great franchises that EA had and has, like The Sims, Need for Speed, Battlefield is very close to my heart, for example, FIFA, you name it, right? But I was also lucky enough to work with great products developed by external companies like Warner, for example, launching Rock Band in Southeast Asia, or working with Valve on the Orange Box. So. And some other titles actually were a bit older, but I also was lucky enough to be involved in the launch of things like Soul Calibur 3 in Europe, or even Katamari Damacy, for those who still remember a very strange Japanese game that actually did very, very well in the market. So I had a lot of different kind of, the possibility of doing a lot of different things with the company in many countries with a lot of different products, and I was very lucky to be able to do that.
So how come Google happened? It's a transition because EA is specifically a gaming company, and then suddenly you migrated to Google.
Absolutely.
So how come the transition?
Actually, there was a bit of a kind of there were 2 or 3 years in between where after leaving EA and after being for so long in a company, obviously you want to take a little bit of time to think, what you really want to do in the future, right? It was a great ride, but I need a bit of a breather, and in the end I decided that I wanted to learn the ropes a little bit more on mobile. And so I ended up joining Nokia at the time on a contract role for about a year or so. It was an amazing learning experience. I really got kind of my bearings on the mobile market. And that led to a short stint at Yahoo, and actually that also led to joining Google, where I was managing partnerships for Southeast Asia, building the team, building the business.
Yeah, you end up traveling a lot, considering it's Southeast Asia.
I ended up traveling a lot in Southeast Asia, and at the same time there was a significant focus at the time on mobile as well, right? On the partnerships role, and that led to it. Basically, it was just a fairly natural evolution, even though it sounds a bit of a strange step. It was actually in the end a very natural evolution from one thing to the other.
Perfect. But Sergio, do tell me, you've always pushed mobile gaming before console gaming. Why so?
So listen, I think in the last 2007.
See, I'll tell you why I'm asking you this.
Sure.
Because a lot of people, a lot of gamers out there, they love console game, and you have a lot of variety there. But in mobile gaming, what so happens, it's my personal opinion on top of that, like you just get constricted to a certain kind of a background, a certain kind of a gameplay. So why? So
let me make it clear, right? In terms of gaming partnerships for myself and for my team, we work across all the different platforms. So Google has a significant amount of products in our ecosystem, right? That can help anyone who is making games, no matter the platform. It's just different products for the platform. What did happen, the reason why I'm emphasizing mobile significantly today, right, as head of gaming partnerships, but also from the perspective of representing Google in these type of events and publicly, is the fact that in 2007 there was an event that basically started a massive revolution. And that was obviously the launch of the iPhone, and subsequently the creation of the App Store for the iPhone. I don't know how much it was overlooked at the time, but it is possibly, that launch is possibly the most important event that has happened in technology in the last 20 or 30 years. And that actually led to the creation of different ecosystems and a massive revolution and growth in mobile in general, right? Now, looking at gaming, I've always felt to a certain extent that gaming led technological revolutions. I'm not so sure whether that has been true so far for mobile. But we're getting to a point, as I mentioned briefly at the beginning of this discussion, that mobile platforms, both the smartphones and tablets, right, are becoming so powerful that the experience that they provide is getting very close to AAA titles, and in terms of quality is approaching console levels. Right? So I'm a great fan of consoles, and I'm also a great fan of PC, actually. I'm playing a lot of Battlefield 4 on PC these days.
Since you mentioned Battlefield 4, I do remember this about you, that you were also the co-founder of this gaming magazine.
That's right.
And you still have this unopened box of Battlefield 2,
That's right,
which you kept as a souvenir.
So Battlefield 2 is possibly the kind of the product launch that I managed with in EA that is closest to my heart. And you're right, something that I did at the time, which was a little bit unheard of for EA, was to do a special edition with dog tags and T-shirt and a few other things in the box. And I happen to have one of those boxes still, a special edition of Battlefield unopened at home. So I just have to believe that whoever did the packing actually put in there everything I asked them to put.
So I'm believing my sources about the same. But hey, nice having you here, Sergio.
Likewise.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.